GameBuilder Studio.
There's a new action in GameBuilder Studio called the URLLoader action. Now this action allows you to have networking in your game. Any server backend that you need to communicate with to authenticate users, to load information, or to access some sort of REST service to return data from a backend database can be done using this URLLoader action. Now this is a pretty complex action because it has the ability for you to do a number of things. You can pass a URL. You can also send the request data in name or key value pairs using a data component. You can also send header information, and it allows you to determine what the format of your request is and the format that you're expecting in return. This supports simply text and JSON at the moment, and you can send key value pairs or JSON data. So your component, your data component that has a name, property names, and values can be translated into a JSON object and sent to the backend, or it can be sent as just key value pairs tacked on to the URL of your server. Now this is very powerful for a whole host of things, but simply I'm going to show you here that we have a mobile game that's in development, and we're simply using it to do a sign-in. Now there's a new service, a platform as a service for backend functionality called PlayFab. And these guys have a ton of great features for anything you need on the back end, from authentication to currency, virtual currency, and validating in-app purchases, purchase receipts, and things like that. So I'm going to use my test account here and show you how I can send a request to their server to authenticate a user in my game and get a response and get a response from their server. Now, in order for this to work, I have to know what information to send to the server and what information I'm getting back in return. Now, PlayFab has an API documentation here that clearly tells you everything you need to know. For me to do an authentication request, it tells me the actual URL that I need to hit to log in a user with an email address. It tells me the type of, or the format of the data that should be sent to them, which is a JSON object. These are the key value pairs that you send over. It's listed here: title ID, which is the game ID, email, and password. And in response, it tells me I will get, on success, a session ticket, PlayFab ID, and things like that. Now, one thing I don't see here is the ability to, or the information of what happens in an error, but they have a really cool little feature here where you can try the request right here in the browser, put in sample information, and get an error or make it fail, and you can see what the error response is. It's a good idea to use this form to send a sample request because you need to know exactly the structure of the data coming back. Because this information just tells you the property and value type. But oh, here we go. Here it also has the sample response. So you can see that the response coming back, it will have a code property, status property, and data property. And that's how you access these session ticket and PlayFab ID properties. So it'll be nested under data. And I could also just, like I said, try it here, and you can see sample response, and I could give it the wrong password and you'll see the error. So let's go and make the same API request inside of GameBuilder Studio. I have a login data component right here with the properties to match that what needs to be sent to the server with the values, and this will be these properties will be changed based on what the user inputs on the screen. And I send that here in the request data. I don't have any header data I need to send at the moment, So I'll leave that empty, and I'm going to send it in a JSON format. Now, when I get a response, a successful response, there is a property that's available to me now under game current action data, loaded data. It holds the information that comes back in the response. Now I have to tack on the information that I need, or the additional parameters that I need to get to the property that I want to access. So like we saw here, it's going to return code status and data. So I'm going to add data dot session ticket in order to get the authentication key that I need to make subsequent calls later on. And I'm storing that in a PlayFab header data component here under an authorization property that will be sent along with all the other calls that I make after the login. So I store that. I also log it to the console here just so I can test and see what the value is at runtime. And then I transition the user into the game. Now if I open that, this is my game running, and I open the browser, this is the account that I have that'll show me activity of the game. So if I hit sign in, you'll see another entry pop up here in this list. And that shows that I just logged into this PlayFab server with that user, and I'm good to go. Now also you'll get a failed response if things fail, and you'll be able to access that error message as well, and you can print that out or handle it in whatever way you'd like.